shalt not kill. There are no listed exceptions. Not for self-defense, not for food, not for valor, not for money, nor for power. Thou shalt not kill. Does a gun serve any other purpose? Any purpose other than to kill? You say a right to a gun means you are free. What twisted kind of freedom is there in taking life? Your freedom has us caught in a weapons race. You believe more guns will somehow keep us safe. You feel you must kill before someone else kills. My friends, the more rounds of ammunition fired, the more lives inevitably lost. And death does not create life. Only life can do that. I reflect. Something seems painfully defective in our species. What compels us to create tools made only to end the life of another being? Is that our right? To intentionally stop the breath and heartbeat of another sentient life form? I admit I do not understand those who passionately believe possessing a killing machine is a symbol of their freedom and safety. Is this not illusion? We are broken. Our excuses are pitiful. Our explanations belabored and weak. I am weary of it. I conclude. Homo sapiens are sick, mentally ill. There is no sane reason ever to kill. This dysfunction resides deep in our DNA, for truly we are so darkly afraid. But where would our civilization be if we'd never begun murdering other beings? Can you imagine the tranquility, harmony, and peace? We can stop. Stop this madness cloaked as freedom and rightful dominion. We can heal. Heal this twisted condition that is stealing light from the human soul. Thou shalt not kill. There are no listed exceptions. Not in a time of war, not in a time of famine, not for sport or revenge or glory. True courage requires facing one's fears and enemies, unarmed, standing in the strength of the light, unafraid. We must trust and be brave, brave enough to shift this paradigm. Leave the old law of eye for an eye behind before we're all hopelessly deaf, dumb, and blind. I would rather be murdered than murder. Is this not the message of the Christ? Is this not the way of ahimsa? I have a dream. I see piles and piles of weapons surrendered willingly by thousands upon thousands of my brothers and sisters. Guns, rifles, and ammunition all melted down as a symbol of our commitment to evolve, as a symbol of our value for creation, for life. Thou shalt not kill. Now is the time to change. Do not be afraid. It is not too late. Now is the time to live and remember that all life is sacred.
You know what?
In a little bit.
Good morning, Acadiana. You're tuned in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate, our local source of news and information. We are happy to bring this program to you every weekday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. And we are also super happy to be joined this morning and most mornings by our very dedicated volunteer newsreader, Mr. Bruce Cohen. Bruce, how are you this morning, buddy?
Well, as always, my eyes are open and my lungs are breathing. So I guess it's another good day.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us to read the news this morning. I am going to listen on Cypress Street.
Well, thank you, my main engineer man, Matt Roberts. Well, good morning, Acadiana. We'll start off with a UL leader, proactive diversity measures in place, reports of racist comments seen on multiple campuses by Ken Stickney. Jim Henderson, University of Louisiana system president, says he's looking past the fires of evident racism burning on some system campuses and toward a brighter landscape. In recent days, examples of racial discord of incidents of racism have included 2 faculty members at the University of Louisiana Monroe were accused of posting racist messages on social media. Reports say incoming students at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches were accused of racist comments made in social media posts. Contention continues at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, which is named for a Confederate general, over the name of the university itself, as well as names for some campus buildings. And at Southeastern Louisiana University, a student athlete was dismissed after making a racist social media post. In the most recent incident, ULM confirmed to the Monroe News Star that administrators are investigating a comment allegedly made by a faculty member comparing President Barack Obama to a monkey. The comment was posted on an article titled Detroit Rep says hydroxychloroquine, Trump helped save her life amid COVID-19 fight. Comment said, "Thank God for our president. He takes no salary for his loyal commitment, not like the monkey before him." That's in addition to a racist social media post from an incoming freshman at LSU, a different university system which has led to campus contention there. All of those incidents and possibly more followed the national furor over the death of George Floyd, a black man who was killed by police in Minneapolis. 4 police officers at the scene have been charged in connection with Floyd's death. We have seen some repugnant, reprehensible comments on social media, Henderson said Tuesday, of situations at various UL system campuses. When it comes on faculty, that's really disheartening. Other campuses, he mentioned, peaceful protests and actions at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Grambling State University and Louisiana Tech, have navigated national turmoil admirably. Henderson also said the UL system, which enrolls 91,000 students at 9 universities, has seen tremendous positive responses from a far greater number of people, including campus presidents and faculty members, who've repudiated racist statements, and Henderson said had taken proactive measures to support diversity and inclusion. Those include a public, community-wide meeting at ULM's Fant Ewing Coliseum on Tuesday, proposed changes to 2 building names in Nichols, both named for Confederate generals in 1961, and public statements by university presidents condemning racism and racist speech. Henderson said to combat system racism, the state and its regional university communities might love aspects of their state and country, but should also examine their faults. We have to look at aspects of our history, understand them in the context in which they occur, but understand the message they send today, he said. Specifically, he said Nichols President Jay Clune made careful distinctions a week ago when he announced he was requesting the system supervisor permission to change the names of the PJT Bureau Card and Leonidas Polk Halls, both named in 1961, the centennial of the Civil War, and rename the buildings for now for the specific academic departments they house. Clune said the university itself, named for Francis T. Nichols, a former Confederate general governor and state Supreme Court justice, and E.D. White Hall, named for a former Confederate soldier and U.S. Supreme Court justice, would not be changed. Both men, he said, held distinction for local achievements, while Beauregard and Polk did not. Beauregard was from New Orleans. Polk, originally from North Carolina, was an Episcopal bishop for Louisiana. Henderson said the system's presidents are acting in accordance with system policy, including these measures that have been put into place in the past few years. In 2017, the system released its strategic framework to guide its work and included 6 aspirations, including the need to increase participation among historically underserved populations. The system appointed a diversity and inclusion task force in March 2018 to assess system and university policy to identify areas that impeded diversity and inclusion, a system spokeswoman said. Several policies were updated. The group hosted a workshop last fall to deepen the conversation and action around diversity and inclusion. Overall, I'm immensely proud of what our institutions have done, Henderson said. Our board has made diversity and inclusion a systematic priority. There's a moral and business imperative for that. Henderson noted that campuses are struggling with reconciling free speech with campus ideals. Freedom of speech is sacred in the U.S. It's in our First Amendment. You start talking about speech that is filled with hate that comes from an evil place, it can be extraordinarily difficult to define that. You have to establish institutional values. There are values we want, he said. Students may err now in their express beliefs, but change them later. It's part of the human condition. We grow, we believe in redemption, but redemption with consequences. It's who we are, he said. Quoting former boxer Muhammad Ali, he said, the man who views the world at 50, the same as he did at 20, has wasted 30 years of his life. Someday, he said, history may look back at these current events as a tipping point in human rights. We will be talking about this era for decades to come, he said. It will be in the history books. Okay, moving on. Contact tracing lags in Louisiana. Fewer than half are answering calls, by Sam Carlin. Louisiana is spending millions of dollars on the centerpiece of the state's reopening plan, contact tracing, practice of deploying callers to reach infected people and track down their contacts. The plan is hitting a snag. People aren't answering their phones. Between May 15th, when the state began its ramped-up contact tracing plan, and June 2nd, traces successfully reached fewer than half of the affected people they called, according to data released by the Louisiana Department of Health. The figures are similar to those seen in some other states and raise questions about how effective the program will be tamping down the spread of the highly contagious coronavirus, especially as the state marches through its phased reopening plan. State leaders have urged people to answer the calls and take part in the program, especially so the people they may have exposed to the virus can be notified. It's worth doing even if it's at this point not as effective as we'd like it to be, said Dr. Susan Hasek, Associate Professor of Epidemiology at Tulane University. This is a trade-off we're asking people to participate in instead of everyone being stuck at home and businesses being shut down and everything else until we get a vaccine, Hasek added. I think it's a complicated message to communicate. State officials and health experts say contact tracing is vital to the state's reopening, which began in earnest on May 15th after weeks of a stay-at-home order that shuttered businesses and told people not to leave the house unless running essential errands. As the state allows more people to interact with one another, officials need to have the ability to test large swaths of people. Once that happens, the Louisiana Department of Health deploys hundreds of people contracted with the state through call centers to reach out to those who tested positive and find out who they came in contact with. The idea is to find those people who were exposed to the virus and urge them to self-isolate. If successful, the practice shortens the chains of transmission, which otherwise can spiral out of control, sparking even larger outbreaks, Hasek said. The state is spending an estimated $15 million to $20 million on the effort, which the health department hopes will be more effective now the cases are lower than when the outbreak began, and epidemiology, I'm going to get this right because I've been having trouble with this. Epidemiologists, there we go, were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of people who were exposed. Some Republican leaders in the state legislature have expressed skepticism of contact tracing, reflecting what they say is a mistrust of the government program among their constituents back home. The legislature passed measures that aim to ensure the program is voluntary, which state health officials say is already the case. Governor John Bel Edwards' administration, which is deploying the program, has also insisted the effort protects people's privacy. Contact tracing has existed on a small scale for decades and is used to respond to outbreaks of other infectious diseases like measles. Hasek also noted that by having state contact tracers notifying people they may have come in contact with someone infected with the coronavirus, the state saves people from needing to take the potentially uncomfortable calls to those who come into contact. But amid skepticism over privacy concerns and in an era of unambiguous spam calls, the health department is struggling to reach people. The state has 4,415 affected people in its contact tracing database and has called 97% of them as of a week ago. The calls reached only 2,130 of those people, representing 48%. Even the total number of people the tracers have called represent a portion of the 6,909 cases reported during that time period. Department of Health spokeswoman Hallie Neal said the people not in the state's database that contact tracers pulled from either did not have contact information associated with the test or were in a congregant setting, places like nursing homes and prisons, which are handled differently. Neal added in a statement that we can dial, but it's up to our residents to pick up. She added, it's understandable that people are busy or don't recognize the number, which is 877-766-2130, which is why the state is trying to raise awareness of the importance of answering the calls. The state was slightly more successful reaching contacts, reaching 56% of the 1,235 contacts identified. Officials define those contacts who were urged to self-isolate as people who have been in close contact with someone who is infected for 15 minutes or longer. The average length of time it takes the callers to reach affected people is 63 hours, according to Neil, and 23% are reached in less than 24 hours. The average time to reach contacts is 34 hours. We know that we have to test more, and testing has to inform contact tracing, and contact tracing has to be effective, Governor John Bel Edwards said at a recent news conference. It's not going to be effective if people don't answer their phone. I'm not going to say it's thwarting our efforts. We just know it's limiting the effectiveness of our efforts. The governor has emphasized that although the program is voluntary, participating is equivalent to being a good neighbor. He points to the fact that most people would want to know if they came in contact with someone who was infected. State Representative Raymond Cruz, a Republican from Bossier City, said late last month that the constituents are expressing reservations about contact tracing, saying without these conditions, without these protections, they don't feel safe. This resolution requested the governor require people who conduct contact tracing to disclose to people it is voluntary, among other things. All right, turning to public service announcements. Homegrown Pop-Up Market is coming to Macomb VZ Cultural District. Homegrown Pop-Up Market, presented by the Macomb VZ neighborhood, is a family-friendly monthly community pop-up market happening every third Saturday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. featuring local businesses and artists. On Saturday, June 20th, 2020, we're bringing fresh veggies, vendors, and ideas to the neighborhood. The Macomb VZ neighborhood and its friends will host vendor booths, live music, games, and activities for all. The event will be held from 2 to 6 p.m. at the Macomb VZ Community House, which is at 419 12th Street at the intersection of 12th and St. and South Magnolia Streets in Lafayette. Admission is free and the event is open to the public. It's brought to you in coordination with the Macomb VZ neighborhood, Veggies on the Go, Health Utarian, and the Northside Vegan. Food and beverages will be available on site for purchase. Vitalant begins testing all blood donations for antibodies to COVID-19. Vitalant became the first national blood bank to test all blood donations for antibodies to SARS-CoV-2, which is a coronavirus that causes COVID-19. The nation's largest independent nonprofit blood collector, serving hospital patients in South Louisiana, is providing the test results to donors who complete successful blood donations, which are critically needed now. The antibody test authorized by the FDA will indicate if the donor's immune system has produced antibodies to the virus, regardless of whether they ever showed symptoms. It is possible that over time, the broad use of antibody tests and clinical follow-up will provide the medical community with more information on whether a person who has recovered from COVID-19 is at a low risk of infection, and if so, for how long. For more information, you can visit Vitalant, that's vitalant.org/COVID-free. To give blood, donate blood, appointments are strongly recommended, so you can visit vitalant.org or call 877-258-4825. That's 877-258-4825. And getting back into our news, new Lafayette economic districts to collect taxes before hearing on lawsuit, by Claire Taylor. A hearing on a lawsuit challenging the creation of 5 economic development districts in Lafayette is set for late July after the districts start collecting new taxes. 6 residents in December sued the city, alleging the former city parish council did not follow proper procedure when advertising meetings where the districts were discussed and approved. Their primary opposition, shared by Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory, is to the notion that the district can collect new sales and motel taxes without asking for a vote from the public. A hearing is set for July 27th before 15th Judicial District Court Judge Edward Rubin. The districts are supposed to start collecting taxes July 1st. A 2% hotel occupancy tax will be collected in all 5 districts. In addition, 1% sales tax will be collected in all of the districts except the Trappy district, where a 2% sales tax will be collected. Taxes are used to be used only in the districts in which each is collected on projects and investments approved by the district boards. City council members, acting separately from the council, serve on the boards and must approve the allocation of any funds. 4 districts and their sponsored organizations intervened in the lawsuit seeking to keep the districts in place. Downtown Lafayette Economic Development District and Lafayette Center Development District, doing business as the Downtown Development Authority, or the DDA, were the first to intervene in the lawsuit, asking that the districts be kept in place. Trappy Economic Development District and Trappy Riverfront Development followed. Most recently, Holy Rosary Institute Economic Development District and Holy Rosary Redevelopment and Northway Economic Development District around Northgate Mall and Pride Opportunity Developers also intervened. Only University Gateway Economic Development District, Town Folk, and Oasis Community Catering have not intervened. Former Mayor President Joe Robideau signed cooperative endeavor agreements with sponsoring agencies of the districts before he left office in January. Guillory attempted to abolish the districts, but was overruled by the city council. In April, Guillory had city parish attorneys withdraw the city's opposition to the lawsuit. The administration is not going to defend those taxing districts, Jamie Angel, Lafayette Consolidated Government Chief Communications Officer, said at the time. The mayor-president was never in support of these districts and is not going to impede the people's right to follow through with action against something that denies citizens the right to vote. Assistant City Parish Attorney Mike Hebert in February filed a motion on the city's behalf asking the judge for a summary judgment, arguing the lawsuits had no merit because it cited a state statute for public notification requirements instead of the Lafayette Parish Home Rule Charter. In April, Hebert withdrew the motion at Guillory's request. In May, the City Council met with Guillory and its attorneys in an executive session to discuss the lawsuit and legal representation for the council. Court records show Hebert filed a response to the lawsuit on behalf of the city about 10 days after the council meeting. Officer accused of excessive force, man booked of malfeasance, counts in hospital choking by Katie Gagliano. Opelousas Police Sergeant Tyrone Anderpont was booked into the St. Landry Parish Jail on Tuesday after a state police investigation into accusations Anderpont used excessive force against a man at Opelousas General Hospital in October. Anderpont, 49, was booked on 5 counts of malfeasance in office after turning himself over to law enforcement. St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office spokesman Deputy Chief Eddie Thibodeau said in a statement, Anderpont's bail has been set at $25,000. Anderpont is accused of using excessive force against 18-year-old Jonah Coleman while he was receiving treatment at Opelousas General Hospital in October. Attorney Darrell K. Washington said his client was sent to the hospital by family for treatment related to a non-criminal matter. While at the hospital, attendants called the Opelousas Police Department, though Washington maintains his client was not rowdy or a threat to hospital staff. Anderpont was one of the responding officers, and Washington said he totally overreacted and proceeded to choke Coleman inside his hospital room while the man was restrained. He was restrained and was not able to defend himself, which is what makes it even worse, he said. Washington said hospital surveillance video supports their claims, and he believes the evidence is overwhelming. He said he has not been able to review each charge against Anderpont individually, but Washington said it's a very good sign The St. Landry Parish District Attorney's Office is willing to pursue the case. Malfeasance in office is committed when a public officer or employee intentionally refuses or fails to perform their duty, intentionally performs their duty in unlawful manner, or knowingly permits someone under their authority to do the same according to state law. St. Landry Parish District Attorney Charles Cravens said that his office choose to move forward with malfeasance charges because malfeasance is a felony offense that encompasses the alleged battery that took place. If convicted, Adjupon could serve up to 25 years in prison if given the maximum sentence, and if all sentences were served consecutively. According to state law, a malfeasance conviction also requires that an officer's post-certification is revoked. Post or peace officer standards and training is the certification process for state peace officers. All officers are required to be post-certified within 1 year. According to the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council, Craven said his office intends to bring Adjupon's case for a grand jury in March, but the coronavirus stay-at-home order derailed their timeline. Craven said it's office policy to bring cases involving public officials before a grand jury, even if one isn't required by state law. With a backlog of cases statutorily required to go before a grand jury and continued concerns about gathering juries during the pandemic, Craven said he chose to advance the case without jury deliberation because there was enough evidence to make a clear determination. Craven said the case's advancement has nothing to do with the recent death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man killed by Minneapolis police officers, or the nationwide protests that have stemmed from Floyd's death and call for an end to police brutality and excessive use of force. Coleman, the victim, is black, and Adjupon is white. There isn't something we decided to do because of the George Floyd situation. We're not reactionary, he said. The public needs to have confidence in the system, that everybody is going to be treated fairly. The system is not based on public pressure. Our decisions are based on trying to do the right things for the right reasons. The Coleman's attorney said he had spoken with other people who claim Adjupon used excessive force against them during police encounters, but could not say how many incidents have been formally reported to the Opelousas Police Department or other law enforcement agencies. With these types of incidents, it's important that they're brought forward because officers take an oath to serve and protect, not harass and attack. Washington said. Opelousas Police Chief Martin McClendon said he could not speak to additional allegations against Adjupon, a 17-year veteran of the department. McClendon said Adjupon has been on paid administrative leave since mid-November when a Louisiana State Police criminal investigation was launched into the allegations of excessive force. McClendon said he first became aware of the incident following a meeting with officials from Opelousas General Hospital, and after reviewing information from the hospital, he and his staff chose to turn the case over. The chief declined to speak on the specifics of the case. McClendon said an internal affairs investigation into Adjupon was launched Tuesday. The chief said his department was waiting for the initial criminal investigation to conclude before proceeding. He declined to speak on possible punishments, but said if termination is recommended, that decision would fall to Mayor Julius L. Sandor and the Opelousas City Council. The police chief said he's concerned that all officers who are sworn to protect and serve are acting professionally and following the department's policies. What I am concerned about is that the people that serve in this community that have taken the oath of office to serve and protect the community, I'm concerned they're doing it in a professional manner. Anything other than that would make a person not fit for duty, McClendon said. Okay, it's almost at the half-hour mark, so I'm going to read a couple more PSAs and then launch into the day in history and the zodiac, or the horoscope, as I like to refer to it. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources to households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, Cox 16, or LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. Keeping calm through the COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services in our area. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls are confidential. You can call 866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. Medicaid resources. If you have lost your job or if you have reduced hours because of the pandemic, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by phone by calling 888-342-6207 or by mail by sending information to Louisiana Medicaid, P.O. Box 91283, Baton Rouge, LA 70821. Local offices for Medicaid are currently closed, but if you need additional assistance, you can again call 866-342-6207. And locally, you can stop the spread, call instead, #stop the spread. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information, visit 311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. All right, turning to our day in history. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, the 162nd day of 2020. There are potentially 204 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on June 10th, 1971, President Richard M. Nixon lifted a 2 decades-old trade embargo on China. Also on this date, in 1692, the first execution resulting from the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts took place at Bridget Bishop, as Bridget Bishop was hanged. In 1942, during World War II, German forces massacred 173 male residents of Lodz, Czechoslovakia, in retaliation for the killing of Nazi official Reinhard Hendrik. In 1944, German forces massacred 642 residents of a French village. In 1957, in Canadian elections, John Diefenbaker led the Progressive Conservatives to an upset victory over the Liberal Party of Prime Minister Louis Saint Laurent. In 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed into law the Equal Pay Act of 1963, aimed at eliminating wage disparities based on gender. In 1967, 6 days of war in the Middle East involving Israel, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq ended as Israel and Syria accepted a United Nations mediated ceasefire. In 1977, James Earl Ray, the convicted assassin and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., escaped from Brushy Mountain State Prison in Tennessee with 6 others. He was recaptured on June 13th. In 1978, Affirmed, ridden by Steve Cawthon, won the 110th Belmont Stakes to claim horse racing's 11th Triple Crown. Al Dare was second when Darby Creek Road came in third in a 5-horse field. In 1990, two members of the rock group Two Live Crew were arrested in Hollywood, Florida. They and a third band member were later acquitted of obscenity charges. In 1991, 11-year-old J.C. Dugard of South Lake Tahoe, California, was abducted by Philip and Nancy Garrido. J.C. was held by the couple for 18 years before he was found by authorities. 10 years ago, Army Secretary John McHugh announced that an investigation found that potentially hundreds of remains at Arlington National Cemetery were misidentified or misplaced. 5 years ago, President Barack Obama ordered the deployment of up to 450 more American troops to Iraq in an effort to reverse major battlefield losses to the Islamic State. 1 year ago, the Vatican issued an official document rejecting the idea that people can choose or change their genders. The document was denounced by LGBT Catholics as contributing to bigotry and violence against transgender people. Today's birthdays: Britain's Prince Philip is 99. Go Prince Philip. Attorney F. Lee Bailey is 87. See, actor Jugan and Brunch now is 79. Football Hall of Famer Dan Fouts is 69. Actor Andrew Stevens is 65. Former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer is 61. Rock musician Kim Deal is 59. Rock musician Jimmy Chamberlin is 56. Actor Doug McKean is 54. And the rock singer Mike Doughty is 50 years old today. Thought for today: always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else. Quote by Judy Garland, American singer, actress, born this date in 1922, died in 1969. Looking at the zodiac or the horoscope. For Geminis, take care of emotional matters. Discuss your plans with someone you love, and you'll come up with a program that encourages positive change. Cancer, concentrate on connecting with people who have something to offer through social media. Building a core base of like-minded people will help you work towards a collective goal. Leos, a change someone makes will be a telltale sign regarding their motives. Discard a plan that doesn't benefit you directly. You'll do better on your own than following someone else. Virgos, my birth sign, stick to your objective and stay out of trouble. A change you've been considering needs to be foolproof before you proceed. Use your intelligence to gain support and sufficient help. Libras, you'll learn a lot if you observe what others do and how they respond. A quiet pursuit will help you reach your destination of choice without interference. Scorpios, refuse to let your emotions stand between you and success. If revenge becomes your motive, it will rebound. Work hard, and the success achieved will bring results and exceed retaliation. Sagittarius, keep an open mind, but don't be gullible. Spend time nurturing essential relationships and less time listening to an outside opinion that is trying to disrupt your life. Romance is encouraged. Capricorn, pick up information and improve skills that will help you excel. An unusual offer will intrigue you. Don't waste time thinking about the possibilities. Do something to initiate positive change. Aquarius, strengthen your relationship with someone close to you. Make plans to enjoy common interests and to explore a lifestyle that offers less stress. Romance will improve your personal life. Pisces, channel your energy into something that requires you to use your intelligence, skills, and experience to get ahead, and you will excel. Positive change will bring you closer to someone you love. Aries, call on experienced people who owe you a favor and your gut feelings, and you will make better choices. Verify the information you receive from outsiders and administrative agents. And finally, Taurus, keep your emotions in check when dealing with situations that can influence your professional goals. Don't let uncertainty limit what you can achieve. Focus on the facts and figures. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based unscientific fact. And we don't have any funerals to mention in the Kittiana area today. But you could always find that out by looking either in the Advertiser obituaries or maybe in the Advocate as well. All right, going back into the news cycle. Suit, victim was on way to visit husband at time of crash. Woman injured when plane hit vehicle by Claire Taylor staff writer. Details about a woman injured when a small plane hit her car before crashing in Lafayette has emerged for the first time in a lawsuit. Christy Britt, along with her husband Robert Britt Jr., her son Elliot, and her father Andy Choxillo, are suing the owners, pilot, and insurers of a plane that crashed in December, minutes after taking off from Lafayette Regional Airport on its way to Atlanta, where LSU was playing in the Peach Bowl. Less than a minute after taking off, the twin-engine turboprop plane lost altitude and it rolled to the left, clipping trees and power lines on the south side of Verrott School Road before crashing into a roadway and through a post office parking lot on Fufale Road. The plane caught fire upon crashing and left an 800-foot debris field, according to the National Transportation Safety Board initial report. Upon its descent, the plane hit a 2020 Hyundai Santa Fe parked near the post office, causing it to flip several times, landing on its roof and catching fire. Christy Britt was in that vehicle. According to the lawsuit, Christy Britt went to the post office to surprise her husband, a postal employee, with breakfast. Robert Britt Jr. had no idea his wife was in the path of the plane, crashed outside the post office, shattering windows on the building. He ran outside immediately afterwards as a plane burned in a field nearby, unaware his injured wife was nearby. As Robert Britt was videoing the crash site, the lawsuit states, he suddenly noticed his wife Danielle screaming and crying in pain from the burns she suffered when the plane hit her vehicle, which flipped and caught fire with her inside. Danielle Britt suffered burns over 30% of her body. According to Facebook posts by her husband in mid-January, she underwent at least 2 surgeries at University Medical Center in New Orleans. She was released in February. Danielle Britt and her family filed the lawsuit in May, seeking an undetermined amount of money for a list of injuries, including mental and physical pain, lost wages, and emotional trauma. The lawsuit also has been filed by Stephen Ensminger Jr., the son of LSU's offensive coordinator, whose wife, Carly McCord Ensminger, a sports broadcaster, died in the crash. The estate of deceased passenger Robert Vaughn Crisp II, 59, who was an executive at Global Data Systems, a technology company that was part owner of the plane and a defendant in the lawsuits, and Stephen Bursaus, the only passenger on the plane to survive, and his family. A man 22 arrested in Harrison Drive shooting. These stories come from the Crime Blotter. A 22-year-old man was arrested on account of attempted murder Tuesday after a woman was injured in a shooting on Harrison Drive. Marlon Woods was booked into the Lafayette Parish Jail on counts of attempted second-degree murder and illegal use of a dangerous weapon. Woods is accused of shooting a woman in the 100 block of Harrison Drive about 3 a.m. Wednesday, Lafayette Police spokesman Sergeant Wayne Griffin said in a statement. The woman suffered an injury that was not considered life-threatening and did not require transport to a hospital. A body found in the ditch identified as Sunset Man. The St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office has identified the man, whose body was found in a ditch on Crichton Point Road near Sunset on Tuesday morning. Tony Joseph Jacobs, 58, of Sunset, has been identified as the deceased. His listed address shows he lived on the street where his body was found. An autopsy for Jacobs is scheduled this morning, Wednesday morning. A release from the St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office spokesman Deputy Jeff Eddie Thibodeau said no other details were released by law enforcement. In restaurant news, Finding a Place Late night downtown Lafayette Burger Dive to reopen with cocktail bar, listening room by Megan Wyatt. Months before the pandemic halted the downtown bar scene, a late night dive for burgers and fries had been serving customers in a modest outdoor space a block off of Jefferson Street. The Stand on Lee quickly became a favorite among service industry professionals and musicians for affordable eats, live entertainment, and outdoor seating. We all just love burgers, said Line Livingston, a partner of the business. We kind of just opened up the stand to test out the late night food concept. It was good, but obviously we realized we needed an indoor setting. The weather was an issue. In February, Livingston and her partners started renovating an old home on the property at 47 Lee Ave to create a dance hall, listening room, and cocktail bar where people could enjoy the food. They planned to showcase the space for a pub crawl during the Bayou Celtic Festival, but the March event was canceled as the coronavirus crisis prohibited large gatherings, shut down bars, and limited restaurants to takeout and delivery services. The forced closure was difficult, but it also provided the team with more time to renovate the space. People have been very generous, said Wilson Savoy, another partner of the business, who has been hands-on through the process as a carpenter and as a musician with the Pine Leaf Boys. We've received so much support from people from a GoFundMe and just people walking by asking when we're going to reopen. Savoy and David and Lime Livingston, a husband and wife team who also work in the music industry, are planning to reopen Wednesday under the name Hideaway Kitchen and Lounge on Lee. Burgers, fries, and floats will be the primary focus for the first week or two until the final details are wrapped up on the lounge side. Zachary Manatakis, 21, will cook for the Hideaway Kitchen on Lee. The young chef has risen to head chef at Antonio's Italian Kitchen just a few years before accepting a position at Hideaway. The food I've been cooking has been more on the high-end side, Manatakis said. If I usually cook burgers and stuff like that at home, but this will be a bit more unique. This is going to be something special with a new vibe. It's exciting. I think people are really going to love it. Later this month, the Hideaway Lounge on Lee, excuse me, let me take a bit of juice here. Thank you. I think people are really going to love it. Later this month, the Hideaway Lounge on Lee is expected to open alongside the outdoor kitchen. Classic cocktails will be on the menu along with more elevated bar fare, such as cheese and pickle boards, Brussels sprouts, pate, and tuna mousse, a nod to Line Livingston's Danish roots. The lounge will also be a space for both dancing and listening to music. As a musician, Savoy is helping people who might be more inclined to sit back, enjoy a drink, and actively listen to the music. The music side of it is going to be really cool with a dance hall and a listening room that can be adapted to whatever you want, Savoy said. People are so used to slowing down right now, they may actually be willing to sit back and listen instead of dance. The lounge was once a residential house where many musicians lived through the years due to its close proximity to downtown venues. The house was built in 1905, and the home's 12-foot ceilings and solid pine walls have been preserved through the construction process. The term plans to host wine tastings and trivia nights in the lounge space as coronavirus restrictions ease up and the business gains a foothold in downtown. That's the vision, Line Livingston said. It's kind of just evolved into this, and the name just seemed right because everyone usually focuses on what's going on Jefferson Street. Hideaway Kitchen on Lee will open from 5 to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday for a few weeks until Hideaway Lounge on Lee opens. At that time, the business will be once again open from 5 p.m. until 3 a.m. Wednesday through Sunday. You can visit facebook.com on the Facebook page at Hideaway Kitchen on Lee. It's all one word, Hideaway Kitchen on Lee, to learn more. Okay, and let's read one more PSA before launching into the final news stories of the morning. Individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or have been laid off from employment may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and not able to access the existing online account or need help on resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solutions Office at 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately, so call again at a later time. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities with businesses who are seeking temporary, part-time, and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at lafayette.org/helpwanted or Leaders virtual job fair page for local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at lafayette.org/jobs. Turning back to the news, looks like we have some news from the current legislative sessions. GOP legislative leaders host Louisiana budget analyst. Move raises questions if fiscal office will remain impartial. Article by Tyler Bridges. In a decision that has not yet been made public, Republican leaders of the Louisiana legislature are forcing out a well-respected legislative staffer whose office recently produced an independent cost estimate that angered powerful lawmakers. Senate President Paige Cortez and House Speaker Clay Schnitzler met Friday with John Carpenter, the legislative fiscal officer, and told him his tenure would end when the special legislative session wraps up at the end of the month, Carpenter confirmed. The move raises the question of whether the legislative fiscal office, which plays a key role in determining a bill's fate by estimating how much it will cost, will remain impartial and nonpartisan at a time when the legislature has become increasingly partisan. The analysis of the budget has to be straight, said Johnny Rombach, who held the job from 1988 to 2005. You can't play games with it. Cortez of Lafayette and Schneckside of Gonzales asked Carpenter to retire before they established a plan to find a successor. They did not respond to requests for an interview Tuesday. John has done an outstanding job of protecting the interests of the state, said Jerome Z. Zerenge, Republican from Houma, chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. He will be missed. We wish him the best. Carpenter, 73, has been the legislative fiscal officer for 8 years. In a brief interview, he said he had been planning to remain in the post perhaps another year to assure a smooth transition to whoever succeeds him. Carpenter said the two legislative leaders gave him no indication of why they want him gone so soon, other than to say they wanted to move in a new direction. Lawmakers in office when Edwin Edwards was governor created the Legislative Fiscal Office in 1973 to provide them with cost estimates that are independent of those produced by the governor's offices. Carpenter and the 17-member staff are little known to the public but play an outsized role behind the scenes by producing fiscal notes for each bill. The fiscal notes can shop the debate over a bill and even doom a measure whose predicted cost is too expensive for lawmakers to stomach. To replace Carpenter, state law requires the House Appropriations Committee, Senate Finance Committee, plus the full House and the full Senate, all to approve his successor while the legislature is in session. The new fiscal officer must have a college degree with training in fiscal matters or at least 10 years experience in fiscal affairs of the state. The intent would be to let someone who has the expertise and ability to perform the function in a fair and objective manner, Serenge said. Lawmakers appear unwilling to want to choose Carpenter's successor later in the year when they are expected to meet in another special session. The ouster of Carpenter comes 3 weeks after state senators blasted a fiscal note that said a bill they favored could have prohibitive costs. The public rebuke of Carpenter's office occurred on May 19th when a fiscal note produced by staffer Rebecca Robinson reported that a bill to kill lawsuits filed by coastal parishes against oil and gas companies could result in a significant increase in expenditures if the state wants to take over the suits. That's because Robinson found Louisiana Department of Natural Resources estimated it would cost the state at least $4.3 million to take over each of the 43 cases, or up to possibly $185 million for all of them. Attorneys at the Talbot Camus Marcello law firm are handling the lawsuits for the parishes and are footing the bill, an arrangement that the state law would not allow. Senate Bill 359 was a major priority of oil and gas companies during the regular session. It also had the strong backing of Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the most powerful business lobbying group. Under Senate Bill 359, nullifying the parish lawsuits could have meant having the Department of Natural Resources and Attorney General Jeff Landry take them over. That led Robinson to ask the department how much it would cost to do so. The Attorney General's office punted, saying SB 359 would generate no additional cost because it does not change the authority of his office, said Deputy Attorney General Bill Stiles. His comments did not address how much it would cost his office to pursue the lawsuits. Senators blasted Robinson's analysis, which Carpenter had approved. State Senator Bob Henskins, Republican from Abbeville, misrepresented Robinson's analysis by saying she had based it on a newspaper story. I've never seen anything like it, Henskins told the committee members. Robinson then explained that she had first seen a cost estimate in a news story, but had then verified the figure with the Department of Natural Resources. The department is part of the executive branch and is thus under the umbrella of Governor John Bel Edwards, who did not support the legislation. State Senator Mike Vesey, Republican from Houma, called Robinson's account fictitious. Finance Committee approved SB 359 in a 7-1 vote, but the bill died before it could not reach enough support from the full Senate. I don't think they were rude to her, said State Senator Regina Barrow, Democrat from Baton Rouge, who cast a lone no vote. She said her colleagues thought the fiscal note was a deliberate attempt to derail the bill. The episode before the committee was only the latest instance in which Carpenter's office has upset lawmakers with a cost and budget estimate that ranked them. Greg Albrecht, a staffer in the office who serves as the legislature's chief economist, produces budget estimates for each meeting of the State Revenue Estimating Conference. The 4-member board meets regularly to determine how much money is available for the state to spend. For years, the Revenue Estimating Conference chose an estimate by either Albrecht or the chief economist for the governor's office, Manfred Dix, by then House Speaker Taylor Barra, Republican from New Iberia, and then House Appropriations Chairman Cameron Henry, Republican from Metairie, broke with tradition in 2018 and 2019 and refused to accept either estimate. This prevented state officials from drawing up a budget with the latest revenue estimates. Barra and Henry questioned the economist's analysis. The economist readily acknowledged that theirs was not an exact science. Steve Woodham, who served as the state budget director from 1988 to 2000 under 3 governors, said Barra and Henry were reintroducing politics into a part of the budget process that is supposed to be nonpartisan. That and the recent episode before the Senate Financing Committee has left Woodham worried that the Legislative Fiscal Office's traditional role is ending. My concern is that they will hire somebody who will bend entirely to the will, he said. And it looks like we're past our the audio version of today's morning newspaper broadcast at our TV stations. If you want to continue to listen, you can at our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media, and at our online streaming radio station, which is Cypress Street Radio. That's CYPRESS Street Radio. Just click on the play button and you continue to hear this morning's broadcast. We just have a few more stories out of the legislature. Louisiana legislators headed to auto insurance rates again by Mark Ballard, Capitol Bureau editor. Working to tidy up the mess left by the last legislative effort to lower auto insurance rates by reducing the ability of people seeking compensation for the injuries in court, A Louisiana House Committee Tuesday advanced several different, sometimes opposing bills. In all, the House Civil Law and Procedure Committee approved 2 fix-it measures should the flawed legislation passed last week become law. The panel also accepted 3 bills, including one by House Speaker Clay Schneckseider. They start all over again but propose different ways of changing the state's civil justice system, which insurance companies and business groups blame for Louisiana's high-priced insurance. All 5 measures now head to the full House. And in other legislative news, bills to cut business taxes expand breaks advanced by Sam Carlin. Lawmakers on Tuesday started advancing a slate of proposals crafted by a task force of business executives that will suspend taxes for firms, make it easier for them to win tax breaks from local governments, and fulfill other longstanding goals of business groups. Most of the legislation was crafted by a group of 60 business owners, lobbyists, and others that came together to set much of the agenda for the special session on behalf of Senate President Page Cortez, Republican from Lafayette, and House Speaker Clay Schneckseider from Gonzales. House Ways and Means Committee approved several bills Tuesday. They include measures to suspend the franchise tax on small businesses, allow local governments to negotiate deals with businesses on property tax breaks, and expand eligibility for incentive programs, among others. House Bill number 13 by Representative Mark Wright, Republican from Covington, and House Bill 19 by Representative Thomas Presley, the 4th from Republican from Shreveport, would expand the incentive programs, enterprise zone, and quality jobs, respectively, to include retailers, restaurants, and hotels, which would give several $1 million to businesses. And finally, and another law or legislature related news, lawmaker proposes overhaul of police practices by Will Centel. A Baton Rouge lawmaker Tuesday filed legislation calling for statewide hearings on police practices in advance of a separate proposal that would require sweeping changes. The changes include a requirement that police officers undergo psychological analysis, a ban on chokeholds, and a mandate that officers intervene when their colleagues engage in misconduct. We just can't allow law enforcement agencies to have this unfettered power as a police judge and jury and not make sure we have real substantive police reform, said Senator Cleo Fields, Democrat from Baton Rouge and sponsor of both proposals. Over 90% of our police officers wake up every morning with good intentions and go out there and do a good job for all of us, Fields said. It is just a small group of folks that we have to weed out that have bad intentions and put us in a very bad light on police throughout the country. Our proposal is to set up a 15-member task force to study police practices. Senate Concurrent Resolution 7 was filed Tuesday, assigned to a Senate committee, and aims to begin hearings no later than August 15th. 3 other police Fields' bill would ban police officers from using chokeholds. Many departments already banned that. He said, we need to make it a state law. You cannot do that. It is not good policing. Chokeholds are banned among Baton Rouge police under a 2017 department policy. It also requires officers to intervene to prevent colleagues from using excessive force. Fields' proposal would also allow complaints against police departments to be filed online. And that does wrap up our news for this morning. I appreciate you sticking with me if you are listening to our audio portion through our TV stations and tuned to our YouTube station on AOC Community Media or Cypress Street Radio streaming at Cypress Street Radio online. I enjoy reading the program, the newspaper, to our visually impaired community, as well as those who do not get the newspaper or have access to the news cycle. If you are all interested in volunteering, please go to our website, aocinc.org. You can find a form there for the volunteer newspaper reading program. Sign in and fill out all your information. We'll contact you. our wonderful chief in charge of this great uh, procedure that we give you every morning, or this format that we do with the Monday for Friday. Amanda Iao will be in contact with you and set you up for training. It's very simple. And we'll go from there. We're doing it remotely from our homes during this pandemic, stay at home and take care of ourselves situation. But we'll get through it. And we'll get back into the studios at some point where we have a podcast booth where we had been doing this every Monday through Friday from 9 to 10. So again, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and be kind to each other. This has been Bruce. Have a great day.